Okay, question number 1, October 24, paper 4-2. So this is an object-oriented question, but it's not as simple as it is generally. We are given a class and then we are supposed to write the methods, and then eventually the program will start getting tough, and towards the end there would be a whole program that we'll have to write, where we'll be combining different objects of these classes, and then we'll be calculating some sort of a percentage, and then we have to test the code. So let's start. Okay, so a computer game is designed for users to select characters. Each character can take part in the group of events. Each group has 5 events. Okay, we should be writing this stuff down. So each group has 5 events. All right, and on the paper you'll be underlining this using the pencil. So there are 4 types of events, and there is jump, swim, run, and dive. Okay, so there are 4 events, and essentially 4 types of events, which are run, swim, dive, and then there was jump. Okay, the program is written using object-oriented programming. The class event item stores data about the events. Okay, we'll just go through this quickly. Stores the name, the type, which would be one of these, and then the difficulty level, which would be an integer form. 1 would be the easiest, 5 would be the hardest. Then we have a constructor where it says that you have to initialize these values to the parametric values, and we have the getter methods. Okay, write program code to declare the class. Do not declare the methods. Use the appropriate constructor. Attributes must be private. Okay, so here they've specifically told us that the attributes must be private, so you have to make sure we do that. And in Python we have to use comments for declaration. So event name, type, difficulty. In fact, I'll just split it. Okay, here we go. So I'll just comment out this stuff. We have class event item, and then we have the constructor define init dash dash, and we have self, and then they're saying there would be 3 parameters. We have event name and type and difficulty, so we have to write these. We'll have, let's call it event name, type, and difficulty, and then this would be self dot dash. This would be event name is equal to en, then event, this should only be type, and then this should be difficulty. Also, this is your indication for the private attribute. You don't write this, it's a public attribute, and this is now a private attribute, which means even the other functions cannot access this this attribute directly without using a getter or a setter method. All right, then they're saying that we have to just write the constructor and the class. Okay, and then there must be the type declaration. So comment, we have to tell this would be get name would be a string, then type would also be a string, and then difficulty would be an integer, and they've also told us that here string string and integer. Okay, this is simple enough. Then we move to the next part. So part 2, the get methods each return a relevant attribute. We have to write that. Okay, we'll do that quickly. So the structure for writing get a method is we just write get, and then we write the name of the attribute, which would be event name, and then we have the self, and then we just return that specific attribute like this. You have to do the same thing for the type, and then you have to do the same thing for difficulty. Get event type, get, so this should be get difficulty, get event type, so the names must match, so this should be the get event type. And I think the name, okay, the name is type there. Okay, we're supposed to copy that in the evidence, so I'm skipping that for now. The area group stores 5 objects of the type event items. Write a code to declare this array. Okay, so they're saying that we have to declare it in the main program. So again, for declaration, we just leave it empty for now, since we don't have any values to fill in. So a group stores 5 objects of type event item. So eventually we'll be creating an array with 5 objects of event item, and then every object will have a name, a type, and a difficulty. So in part B1, they're saying go into the main program. So we go into the main program. Okay, so we go into the main program, and here we'll write the array. So they're saying the name of the array is group. So group will store 5 objects. So for now, it will be declared as an empty array because we are not supposed to initialize it. And we can just write that this will be array with 5 event item objects, something like this. And then in the next part, they're saying that we have to write the program code to create an instance of event item for each of the 5 events and store them in the group. Okay, so that means we have to create 5 objects, which means we have to use the append function 5 times. So append, and you have to do this 5 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, so in order to do this, we
It
have,
24.
okay, so we have these 5 statements now. Okay, now we have the name, we have the event type, and we have the difficulty. So we'll just quickly do this. The first name would be bridge, then we have jump, and then we have difficulty level 3. Then we have water wade, then we have swim, and we have 4. So this is a little bit of manual work. So 100-mile run, then we have run, and then we have 5. We have gridlock, drive, and 2. And then lastly we have wall, on wall, and jump, and we have 4. Okay, this is it. And Python is automatically tagging it as an object type because this would eventually get copied. Okay, now this is not a complete object. It's supposed to be an object type, but it is not an object. We are just literally appending 3 values at a time. The question said that they must be of event item type, right? So in order to create of them of event item type, we just have to wrap this in event item like this, and then we put another bracket around it, and now this is an event item object. Otherwise it was a simple entry in the array with 3 values. Now this is fine. Okay, here we go. So we complete the brackets, and that we have now event items of multiple types. Or you could have or you could have done this in separate lines and could have given it a variable like this. Maybe event item is equal to event item like this, and then the values, and then you could have just written E1 here. So that is also fine. However you're comfortable, you can do it. Okay, so all the objects here now. So we move on to the next part. Then the next question says that we have to create a class of character. Okay, so this is going to be another class now. The character has a skill level for each type of event. Okay, so we know that there are 4 events, and then the character will have a skill type level for each of them. The skill level is an integer between 1 to 5. 1 is the lowest skill and 5 is the highest skill. Okay, so what's noticing? So 1 is the lowest, 1 is lowest skill, and 5 is maximum skill. Okay, and then we are supposed to have these attributes, these methods. So the question says write program code to declare the class character, the constructor, and the get method. Okay, and then appropriate constructor and then attribute must be private. Okay, so let's hide this class and let's create the second class. So it will be class character. Okay, and then first of all we'll have the constructor here. So define init. Okay, they're saying stores the name of the character, stores the skill level, and then skill level at this. And then they're saying in the constructor you have to initialize these values to the parametric values. Okay, I'll just copy these here for now. So these would all be comma separated values. And I don't want to write them again, so I'll just use them as the attribute names. So autocomplete will do that for me. Swim, run, and drive like this. Okay, and you can either use the same names or you can use the other names like we've been doing. We just use the short forms in the exam because autocomplete would be disabled for you at that point. Okay, then they're saying that you have to write the get method as well. So get method is the get name function, and get name function is just going to return the name of the character. And for that we have to define get name. This will be self, and then it should return you the self, the character name, whatever the name is given to the character. Okay, so that's it. Now we also have to write the declaration. I'll only write the first two. So we have string, so this should be string, and then this would be integer, and then the remaining three are also integer, so we can just copy paste it here. Okay, moving on to the next part. The method calculates score in the character class. Okay, so now we are supposed to have a method called calculate score in the class. Okay, and with this method we are supposed to apply some conditions now. It will return the percentage chance of a character completing an event. When the character skill is greater than or equal to the difficulty of that event, the percentage chances of completing the event is 100%. Okay, so this is the main part of the question now. So there are two numbers that we're looking at. One is the difficulty level that we had for the character for the event. So we had the difficulty level here, which is between 1 to 5. 1 is the easiest, 5 is the toughest. And then in the character class, we are assigning some skill level to all the 4 events for each character, right? So an example could be that we have a character, maybe Charlie. So Charlie will have some, we can say some rating. So that would be maybe he is rated maybe 1 in jump, then 4 in swim, etc. Or let's just do one more. So maybe run is 5, so 5 in run. So Charlie is expert in running, moderate in swimming, and then he's weak in jumping. Okay, now the second part here is that all of them would have some sort of a difficulty level. So in this case, jump has, let's say, a difficulty level of 2. So these are the difficulty levels now. So jump has a difficulty level 2, swim has a difficulty level 4, and run has a difficulty, or swim has difficulty level 4, yeah, and run has difficulty level of 3. So now what will is, since Charlie's jumping is rated at 1 and the difficulty level is 2, now we have to see what will happen next. So it's always good to have some sort of dummy values in order to understand. So this is the main part. The percentage chance of completing the event is 100% if the skill is greater than or equal to. Okay, so in swim, Charlie is rated 4 and the difficulty is also 4. So the completion percentage would be 100% chance that he would be able to get through it. Then we have 5 for running, but Charlie's skill is less rated than that. And similarly for jump, the rating is 1 and his rating is 2. So this, since it is greater than the, sorry, it's not greater. Let's make it 2 and let's make it 1. Since the difficulty level is lower than the skill, so this is also a 100 completion rate chance. Okay, now if we look at run, so this the rating is 5 and the difficulty is 3. In fact, we should reduce this. Maybe his rating is 2 and the difficulty is 4. Now what do we do next? So when a character skill is less than the difficulty of that event, so the skill is 2, difficulty is 4, then the character skill is subtracted from the difficulty of that event. The difference is used to identify the percentage of the success. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to subtract the skill. So we're going to in fact do difficulty minus the skill required. So in this case, it would be the difficulty level is 4 and Charlie's skill level is 2. His skill rating is 2. So this is 2 now. Now, depending on the difference, if the difference is 2, then the success percentage rate would be 60%. Like this. So if the difference is 1, so more the difference, less the successful chance, and then less the difference, more the chances of success for that particular event. So that's the idea, right? So if it is actually greater than or equal to, then 100%, and if it is less than the difficulty level that is required to pass the event, so we'll subtract skill from difficulty, and then we'll have 4 if conditions, and we'll decide the percentage rate that could be the case. Okay, so a character has a skill level of 3. We've already discussed this example here, so we don't need to do this again. Okay, write the program code for method calculate score to take the type of event and difficulty as parameter. Okay, so I'll just comment this all out. This is just the planning part. So this will get the type, and this would have the difficulty level. So I'll just call it difficulty for now. Okay, and then calculates the percentage chance of the character completing the event. Return the percentage chance of completing the event as an integer number, for example 60. Okay, so we have the type here and we have the difficulty here. So when we create the character, they'll have some rating by default. And now in order to calculate the score, we have to first check what would be the type be. And depending on the type, we'll have to calculate their chance based on their skill set. Okay, so please remember these are the values of the skills. Okay, so would define the skill rating of character for each event. Okay, now what do we do? So first of all, we check if the type is equal to, let's say, jump, like this. Okay,
When
so
we
we have,
have the method,
okay, so if the type is equal to jump, then so let's look at the lowercasing and uppercasing of it. So the skills are, okay, their uppercase will convert it all to lowercase. That would be fine. So for now, let's keep it. In fact, let's convert it to lowercase as well. So the type that we're getting, let's convert it into lower. In fact, let's do it at once so we don't have to write it over and over again, because if the case sensitivity is ignored, then the string comparison would not work. So if the type is jump, then we'll return self dot jump. In fact, we were not going to return it. Let's store it in some variable. Let's say the skill, maybe skill is equal to self dot jump. Okay, now what am I doing here is, if the event is jump, then I'm just getting the skill rating for jump. And in this case, we discussed how Charlie is rated 2 in jump, 4 in swim, and 2 in run. So in case we get jump, so 2 would be returned here. So we'll actually get a 2 like this. Then elif, if it is type swim, then we get the value of swim skill rating. Then we do the same thing for run, and we get the runs rating. And otherwise, if it is drive, so we get the drive rating. I believe it was, yes, character, jump, run, and drive. Yes, so we get all of these ratings now. Okay, now we have these ratings, and we also have the difficulty level. Now this is the difficulty level that we talked about here. So regardless of the events, there would be some difficulty level for each event. So we talked about how jump is rated at 1, swim is 4, and run is also 4. So when jump is 1, we compared the Charlie's skill rating against this difficulty level. If the skill is at least equal to or more than that, then 100% rate. So we're going to compare that. So we'll check inside the function if the skill rating is actually greater than or equal to the difficulty that we passed in as a parameter. So that means we will simply return 100%. And that would mean complete chance of success, right? Just like we talked about. So if Charlie is rated at 2 and the difficulty is 1, so if we are directly going to return 1% as said in the question. Okay, then if that is not the case, okay, if that is not the case, then we need to look at the difficulty. So as the question said, we need to calculate the difference by subtracting the skill rating from the difficulty. So let's do that. Let's get the difference. Okay, we already have the difficulty for that. Let's call it maybe let's call it change or something. So what would be the Okay, in fact, difference would be a good name, but we already called it different. Okay, let's call it change for now. So change would be the value of difficulty, subtracting it from the value of the skill, right? So let's say if the difficulty is set at 4 and the skill rating is, let's say, 2. So 4 minus 2 would get us 2, and if we have a difference of 2, that means that the rate of success would be 60%. And then we just have to apply the if conditions here, and this would be the whole thing. So we do if change is equal to 1, then we are simply going to return 80. Then elif the change is equal to 2, then we'll return 60, and then we return all the values just as written in the table. Change is equal to 3, so we return 40.
In line 50.
20 is returned. Okay, otherwise what do we do? Return the chance of completion. And so if we have per chance is 60%, okay, so we still have to return a value in case none of these if conditions are true. Okay, let's say the rating does not exist, maybe the person is not qualified for that event, so we can just return 0, although we don't really need to do it in this case, but still would be a good idea for the sake of error detection. Okay, indentation is fine now. So this is the whole code for part 1D. Okay, moving on to the next part, that is part E. Okay, so part E says that we have two characters that are attempting each event in the group you created in part 1B. Okay, so let's close this for now. And then one character has the name TARS and the skill levels of these. And then there is another character called Jenny who has these skill sets. Then each character object is stored in a variable. Amend the main program to create an instance of a character object for TARS and Jenny. Okay, so simple enough. We'll go into our main program, and here we'll create two instances. Let's call it player 1, and then there would be a player 2. So player 1 would be of an object of character. This is the one we made, and it's supposed to have 4 parameters, and we're going to pass those. So they have given us the properties. The first name is stars, and then it's supposed to have 5 3 5 1. Okay, again, please remember, it's not necessary that they give you these in the order. Okay, so you always have to double check if they're in order or not. So we have jump, swim, run, and drive. So jump, swim, run, and drive. Okay, these are fine. So 5 3 5 1. So I just comma separate them, 5 3 5 1. Okay, and then we have the second character, which is supposed to be Jenny, and Jenny will be 2 2 3 4. So 2 2 3 and 4. And then again, they're getting labeled. The parameters are getting the name as well, just for our convenience that they are correct. Okay, so we have amended the main program. Okay, now this is a 7-mark question that we have to do very carefully. So both character Tars and Jenny will be taking part in the event that we created in the group. So in each event in the group, and again, just a reminder, each group has 5 events that we learned in the start of the program. So these steps are repeated for all 5 events. Then we have the percentage chance of each character completing the event is calculated and compared. Okay, for each character completing the event. Okay, again, so we have to remember that in each event we have the events, and we have a group. So every group has 5 events, and then there's supposed to be multiple groups, I believe. Yes, these steps are repeated for all the 5 events. Okay, so that is fine. Okay, so then the percentage chance of each character is completing the event is calculated. The character with the highest percentage gets 1 point. The character name is output together with the message telling them that they have won the event. And then if both characters have the same percentage chance of completing the event, then the scores do not change, and the message is output stating that the event is a draw. When the total score for each player has been calculated, the name of the character with the high score is output, stating they have won and the number of points they have. If they have the same number of points, a message is outputting that this is a draw. Okay, so here we're talking about all the 5 events, and here we're talking about the overall score for the characters, okay? Because they would be participating in 5 events. So every group will have 5 events, and then they would be running, jumping, driving, and all of the ones that we saw above. So jumping, swimming, run, and drive. Sorry, these are the event names: bridge, water wade, mile run, gridlock, and wall. So there would be 5. These would be the 5 events. So there would be some statistics local to the event. So maybe it's possible that Jenny wins one of the events and loses all of them. And maybe it's possible that Tars wins 3, Jenny wins 2, and then the last one is drawn. So we have to find the local winner for each event, and we also have to find the overall winner for the whole group, which will have 5 events. So amend the main program to calculate the score for each character in each event. Output the name of the character that wins the event, or if it is a draw, and the name of character that has the most points for the group. Okay. So here some sort of chaining would be happening, because we'll have the objects, and then on those objects we'll be applying the functions. So we have to start first. First of all, they're saying that there would be 5 events. Okay, so we need to run a loop 5 times for I in range 5. And then we also have to calculate the scores, the overall scores for both the players. So there would be a score for Tars and then score for Jenny. So let's call it PL1 score, and this would be 0. And then we have PL2 score, which is also set to 0. Okay, now inside the loop, we already have the skill sets available to us, and for each of the characters, and then we also have the difficulty levels available for each type of event, right? Like bridge is 3, gridlock is 2, wall on wall is 4, etc. So using this data available to us, we would be able to calculate the probability that we just did above. So if, let's say, the swim event is rated at difficulty 4, so let's look at the swim skill set for Tars. So Tars has a rating 3, which means that Tars will not be able to complete this most likely, and they will have a success rate of 4 minus 3 is 1, so they'll have a success rate of 80%. And then for Jenny has swim rating of 2, so 4 minus 2 is 2, and then Jenny will have a success rate of 60%. And then we need to keep a track of all of these. Okay, now how do we do this? So this is a total score, and then this would be the local score. So P1 local score, and then P2 local score, like this. Okay, so now we have all the data available to us, and we just have to use it. Now if we open the character class and we go there, we'll see that we have the calculate score method, which is taking the type of the event and the difficulty of the event. And then based on that, it is returning you an integer, which will calculate the probability of a certain player winning it to some extent. So we have to do that now. So player 1 will write, so the player 1's instance is this is the character, so P1 player 1 dot. Now on this object we can apply all these functions. We can use the get name, we can use the constructor, we can use the calculate score. So we'll use the calculate score. Now inside the calculate score function, what are we supposed to pass in? We're supposed to give in the type, and we're supposed to pass in the difficulty. Okay, in order to do that, now we have this group array here, right? This group array has event items, so there are 5 items here of an event. Okay, so we have the calculate score here. Now in the calculate score, what we need to pass here is the difficulty and the type. Now how do we get the type here, and how do we get the difficulty here? This is already given to us. Okay, it was shared with us in the table above in the question. If we go back above, so these are all the details. Okay, so these are already provided to us, we just have to extract them. Now how do I extract them? So for every event item, we have the name, we have the event type, and then we have the difficulty level. So first of all, they're saying that you have to get the type out. Okay, so this is an event item type. Now we need to go into the event item class, And if we look at the getter methods, we have the get event name and get event type and get difficulty. So if I just use get event type, now let's see if it is going to work. I'll just comment this for now, and I'll say print player1 dot get event type for each. Yeah, let's just say, wait, so this would be on event item. So we have the group array now. Okay, so let's actually first print the group array. We'll do it one by one, so not to get confused. Okay, if I just try to print the group array, nothing would be printed because we are trying to print the object here directly. And then we have the, yes, we're getting the objects here. Okay, now we don't need all the objects, we need the attributes. So if I just try to print it with a dot, so it's not going to do anything because group is an array. So let's try to print each index at a time. If I do this again, it's still printing the complete object with the addresses. We don't need that, we need certain attributes. So if I put dot here now I can access some of the methods here that we created for the event item. Again, the logic is that a group is the array of event items. So whatever we wrote in event items, all the methods we can apply here. So let's try to get the event item name from each index like this. If I try to run it now, okay, it works perfectly. It is giving us all these names: bridge, water weight, run, gridlock, and wall on wall, right? And if I change this to get, what was the other name? Get event type. Okay, if I change it to get event type and I change it and it says there's no event type. Okay, let me see. G should be small. Get event type. Okay, if I run it again, okay, now
Partha,
we're
I
getting.
think
So I'll repeat. Basically, the group is an array of event items. So you can imagine something like this. If I try to print the group array, it will have something like this. So there would be multiple items here. So the first item would be this, the one with bridge, jump, and 3. And then there would be another item which would be water, so on and so forth. And then there would be 100
yeah,
mile
I
run, so on.
understand.
So we are able to get the event types, and we're able to get their difficulty levels as well. So get difficulty, and let's run this individually. And I think we wrote something here. Yes, if I rerun it, okay, we have the difficulty here level as well: 3, 4, 5, 2, 4. Okay, everything is in order now. So let's try and do this. So player 1, the character will apply the calculate score on this, and it's called calculator score. It should be calculate score. Okay, in this, what we need to pass in is, again, in the calculate score, we need to pass in the type of the event. And the type of these events are jump, swim, run, climb, and jump. And in order to get these, we need to go into our group array. This will have the index. Okay, so at every index there would be one complete item. So this is index 0, this is index 1, this is index 2, index 3, index 4, like this. So at index 0, I need to access the jump here, which is the type. So in order to get out the type, which is an event item at method, so I'll go to event method, event item class, and we'll see that we can actually use the get event type here. So I'll write dot get event type, and I call this, and I'll do the same thing on player 2. Okay, again, group index I, it's not specified. Okay, pl1 dot calculate score brackets group index
Also
I
not
got.
two.
Yes, so we have to pass in the difficulty as well. Okay, for difficulty we have to do the same thing, group index I dot get difficulty. Okay, so what will this do is it will get jump and then it will get 3 directly from this array from index 0, then from index 1 it will get swim and 4, then run and 5, drive and 2, jump and 4, like this. And we have to repeat the same thing for the player 2 because they're both playing the same events as competitors. Okay, that's it. So let's, yeah, so we're getting the difficulty and we're getting the score. Okay, now let's try to print the values of their scores. Print local score 1, local score 2. Okay, if I run it, okay, it says P1 score is 100. Okay, now why is that the case? Now let's visually check this if that is true. So the first event is jump and it has a rating 3 and TARS has a rating 5 for jump. So that means TARS should definitely get it. Then we have water weight. TARS has a rating of 3 and swimming requires a level of 4. So this is less, right? So if we subtract 4 from 3 and we get 1, and from the question we remembered that when the difference is 1, the chances are 80%. And if we look at Jenny, so maybe Jenny has a drive skill of 4 and the drive event requires a difficulty of 2. So Jenny should get 100% on the drive. And if we look at this, so drive is the which event is this? 0, 1, 2, 3. So 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, yes. Jenny gets 100% probability because she is highly more high rated than the required difficulty. So everything is working fine so far. Okay, so we don't need to print this. In fact, we'll just keep it here for now and we'll move it towards the end. Now the question said, so bringing back the question, we just need to find out how to proceed from here depending on the number of scores that we're getting for the score for the events. So the character with the percentage of completing the event gets 1 point and the name is output. Okay, and then if that is not the case, then the event is a draw. Okay, so in this case, this is TARS is winning event 1, then TARS is winning event 1, and then Jenny is winning event 2, something like this. Okay, so let's make a comparison. So if P1 local score is greater than P2 local score, if that is the case, so we are going to print the name of the player. Okay, how do we get the name of the player? So we are in the character class right now, PL1, and we assigned it the name TARS. And in order to get this name, we have to go into the character class and we look at the getter method, which is the get name method, which will return the name, right? So I'll be using that. So I'll say print PL1 dot get name like this and say wins this event, and we'll increment their score by 1. So P1 player 1 score, their overall score would be incremented by 1. Okay, now let's see if I run this. Okay, TARS wins this event, TARS wins this event, TARS wins this event. Okay, this is the only event where TARS did not win because Jenny will be winning this. Okay, so we do the same thing. So elif P2 local score is greater than the P1 local score, which is local to the event. Then PL2 will win this event, which is Jenny in our case, and then she will get the point. So player 2 will get 1 point. And if that is not the case, then that means they both had a draw. So we'll write just say this event was drawn by both players. Okay, let's run this. Okay, here we go. So TARS wins this, TARS wins this, Jenny wins this, and then TARS wins the last event, and there has been no draw. Okay, so this was for the local event. Now we just have to do the last part that says that we have to check if both characters have which character is the winner overall, and we can clearly see it is going to be TARS because TARS won 4 out of 5 events. So we have to do that, otherwise we have to output that it was a draw. So outside the loop, we are going to compare the final scores for both players, and let's try to compute the final scores. So we are already getting them in PL1 score and PL2 score. So if PL1 score is greater than PL2 score like this. So that means that Jenny has won. Sorry, Tars has won. Um, in fact, instead of writing this, oh, okay, this is fine. So we'll just write print PL1 dot get means this is the overall winner with this many points. So it would be PL1 score points, whatever the score is overall. And if that is not the case, so elif, if player 2 gets more score, then we repeat the same thing, print forward string, and I'll just copy paste this here. So the player 2 will get their name and is the overall winner with this much score PL2 points. And else, if that is not the case, then that means both players had a draw overall. Okay, here we go. And we should add an empty line break here, so it is separated from the events. We'll just print an empty print statement. Okay, here we go. It says Tars wins. Tars is the overall winner with 4 points, right? And I think this is the whole question. So test your program, take a screenshot. Okay, again, in order to take the screenshot, we'll just use the snipping tool here, and we'll just cut this much part of the program, and then we'll paste this in the evidence file. So we are not supposed to copy paste the output. They'll always say output of the screenshot, so we'll always output it. We are not going to copy paste the console output. So with this, the whole paper of October 2024 paper 4.2 is done.